All right, guys, welcome in. Happy New Year. Glad to be part of your New Year's resolutions. Ready to crush some deals with y'all. Well, welcome to Red Stick RIA. A lot of new faces in here. I want to get to meet all you guys, like I always say. I'm nobody special. These guys are. That's why everybody shows up. So don't be afraid to come introduce yourself. I want to meet everybody I haven't met yet. And yeah, this is kind of what we do here. We are focused mainly on residential real estate between flipping, wholesaling, buying and holding, landlords, property management. We want to be the hub for residential real estate here in VR. Our goal is to build a network and a crew of people to do business with each other. We want to bounce deals off each other, sell each other deals, buy deals from each other, lend on people's deals, manage their deals, work on their deals. Your best contacts are going to be in this room. So we usually make this somewhat short and sweet. It'll be a little bit longer tonight just to dive into a pretty deep topic of mistakes we all made last year. But we always like to leave it open for networking time and the end of it all, so we can kind of make sure we get to know everybody in the room. So quick little housekeeping stuff as we do. If it will cooperate, there we go. We are trying to grow a little bit on the interwebs here, so if you want to go and plug in with us, we do have a website that is getting better by the day. I will say my Squarespace skills are getting better and better. So we are working on a newsletter that we're going to start sending out to basically be the real estate based updates for market updates, trends, recently sold, investor spotlights, what's working for our investors in this group, what kind of deals we're doing, what kind of deals we're not doing. We'll have a vendors list on there so that you can refer to that for any type of construction work, insurance, title, anything like that. So you'll see the newsletter sign up on the website. So that's going to be starting to be about a monthly thing as we kind of get used to working all of that. Again, we kind of all run full-time flip businesses here too, so this is the best we can do at the time we have. But go connect with us on Facebook and meet up. So you can kind of see when our events are coming up. We're the first Tuesday every month, 6:30 up here, and we're going to lock in for the whole year here, so y'all can count on it being here every Tuesday, no matter what's going on, every first Tuesday, no matter what's going on at 6:30. This is always put on by help from our sponsors. We've got Patrick Roberts in here. Where's Patrick at? Station 28 Capital, he's your go-to guy for DSCR loans, flip loans. He works with Assurance, so he's set up for those type of long-term hold loans, but he's a wizard with notes and flipping notes and the actual money side of the deal. So if nothing else, go pick his brain and learn a little bit about what he can offer on some of his lending products. But thanks to Patrick to help us put this on. Room intros, like to make sure everybody knows who's who in here. So where's my wholesalers at in the room? Cool. Flippers? Wow. 4 of us, 5, 6 of us are flippers. Okay, interesting. Contractors? Cool. Title attorneys? Okay, there we go. Love it. Finally have an in-house title attorney. Okay. Come talk to me after. Insurance agents. Hello, we got insurance. We got everybody in the house tonight. New year, new us. Look at us. This is awesome. Insurance guys are bold showing those hands. Property managers. Any property managers? Cool. Okay, and for the last one, we always like to do, if you currently have a deal that you need funding for, you have it under contract, you're in due diligence, out of due diligence, you've got a flip that you want to take down, a rental you want to take down, and you're looking for funding. Okay. Looks like just me and Ryan looking for money tonight. All right, cool. All right, we're going to dive on into it. I want you guys to go ahead and make your intros for yourselves. Your work and your businesses and your names all kind of live up to what we'd expect to hear from y'all, but I want y'all to kind of give a rundown, so I won't sit here and push y'all too high of a pedestal, but let us know who you are, what you do, what you specialize and focus in.
I guess I'll go first. A lot of y'all might know me, maybe you don't. My name's Nate. Been in the real estate business since 2004. Started out with being a loan officer, so anything related to getting financing to a house, I pretty much have touched it. Over the last 4 years, turned that game into rental properties. I like to flip houses the most. Recently, we set up an Airbnb. And so anything real estate related, I've pretty much have done. My day job is I work with HGA. We handle all the disaster recovery for Louisiana and helping people get back into safe housing. So my team pushes real estate closings out each day. We did about $400 million over the last 18 months in helping people get into safe housing. So whether that is, my team basically just does new construction housing or new purchases. We do rehabs. So everything I've done real estate wise is related to fixing a door to make it a better place for the community. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. So yeah.
Good evening, good evening. Thanks for having me, Red Stick. Shouts out to Asa. Jay Alexander, been a real estate investor since 2007. Graduated in marketing and from 07 to probably about 2012 was a sales manager at AT&T. Left my W-2 in 2012 and been a full-time real estate investor since. So I've done everything from fix and flip to buy and hold to short-term and long-term rentals to new construction, small development, wholesaling, creative financing, private lending. I've done a good bit of everything. What my business looks like now, my primary business model is wholesaling, but we've seen a pretty good bit of everything. I've probably rehabbed hundreds of houses, so I've seen the market up and down and really experienced the roller coaster effect for sure. And a lot of lessons learned and just happy to be here and add value where I can.
Awesome. And I'm just Asa. I just took a selfie. I'm not as professional with a headshot as these guys are, so I flip houses and I hold a couple of them and I wholesale a couple of them. Did about 40 deals last year. So yeah, quick intros. All right, diving right in, and I want the hardest question first. This is one of my favorite nights. We will do this every single year. I think this is so beneficial to hear from guys who are doing this. And, I kind of realized this year, thankfully for the first time in a while, everyone's got their corny New Year's post and reflecting on last year and how much they crushed it and how good last year was. I didn't see that much of it this year, so I don't think we were the only ones taking it on the chin. I think that was kind of across the board here, but what I like this group to do annually here is to really talk about and dive in about mistakes that we've made, rather than seeing the highlight reels and talking about all the pretty flips and stuff. I can show you pictures of checks, but most of the time those checks really aren't true. Typically, you're not actually making what you're claiming to make, and a lot of times you're not really doing what you're claiming to do. I see a lot out there, a lot of fake gurus, a lot of fake info out there, and I like this to be a real place that we can come talk. We've made just as many mistakes, if not more, than any of you guys in this room. So I think it's very valuable for all of us to learn from each other's mistakes, and hopefully we can help you not do some of the things that we did that we wish we wouldn't have done, or do the things that we did do that we were surprised by or knew wouldn't work out and ended up working out. So biggest, deepest question that we can spend some time on here, but what was your biggest mistake you made in 2025, and how did you recover or adapt?
I guess I'll go first with this one. So I've bought a lot of doors over the last 20 years. Last year, I bought a door that was, actually I partnered with Asa on it. We started with the deal that kind of, I wouldn't say went sideways, but it had a rocky start in that it had a lot of work that needed to be done. Brought down to the studs. It's an 80-year-old house. If y'all are familiar with that, it's a lot of permitting issues, working with the city, all that kind of stuff. Flip that into the market kind of shifted last year, if y'all not aware. Everybody that's not been doing this for a little bit, it was a little bit harder to sell something last year. This was a unit that was, a house, a door that was priced in the mid-4s. So that price model was a struggle bus last year. So as looking back, could I predicted that rates were going to be hovering in the 7+% rate? No, we thought that rates were going to drop. Rates didn't drop. So the affordability of a home became more of a challenge, right? So for those of you guys that are any type of landlord or you own a house, if you did not have an increase in your taxes or your insurance this past year, raise your hand. I see your hands go up. That's what I thought. So cost to own was a lot higher. So in this case, we did flip the house. We got it. I think it looks cool. I thought it was the coolest house on the street. We attempted to sell and just didn't get any bites. So from a mistake stance, it's a stretch to say it was a mistake in that the market shifted, right? So in that I had to adapt, right? So is that where we're supposed to go into that, how to recover and adapt? So, you know, you got to take anything you do real estate related and figure out an exit strategy, right? Can you rent it? Can you sell it? Can you flip it? Can you get out of it, right? You got to go into it with how do you get out of it. And in this case, you know, what is what they said, we were partnered in it, right? So didn't make sense to partner into any type of future endeavor other than selling it, because that's what we wanted to get our money back out of it. Talking with my wife, she was looking for a little side project. We turned it into an Airbnb. That happened in November, about November 1st last year. And we've been crushing it. Something that we haven't done in the past, but pivoted because we didn't have much of a choice. Like, I didn't want to sit on it through the winter. It's over by LSU. It's a cool house. It's rented pretty much every day since we put it online. So you take something that was I wouldn't say a burden, but a cost that didn't sell. And because we had the right equity position in it, was able to convert it into something different. And that something different now pays for my kids' school. So even though it wasn't the win we were looking for, it ended up being a win that we could still pivot based on being in it for the right deal with the right people and able to pivot into still making it make money. Make sense? Cool.
And would you say, as far as not having the ability to have multiple exit strategies, but still being able to figure something out with it that ultimately cash flowed and is making you money, what do you think was the key part to you being able to do that? Was that the location? Was that a good deal? Was it we all say we make money on the buy. Was it because you bought right? Was it because you bought in the right location? You had enough equity? I mean, what do you think led to still having that ability to do that even without the original intended multiple exits?
So when you look at an Airbnb, it's got to look cool. It's got to be like this building here. Like, we rented this building because I think it was cool, right? Airbnbs have to stand out, right? You're not going to be able to put a 3-2 out there that's going to be an average house and get great returns and reviews and anything like that. It's got to be unique. And the house, you know, I went the most unique on this house than I've ever done on any house. What sells is boring, right? In Baton Rouge, boring sells. If you go too custom, it's too custom. If I was going to build it for you, that might would work. But to try to get someone to come in that like your ideas, it's going to be a challenge. So this particular house is by LSU. It's about a mile and a half from LSU Lakes. So from a location stance, it pegged all the marks of something that could potentially cash flow well. And it's near all the nice restaurants, right? If you're familiar with Baton Rouge, all down Perkins Road is where people like to hang out. And you go out to dinner and just hang out. There's a lot of different places that you can just go in that general area. It's safe. The closest thing is by LSU. If you're not within about, I would say, 5 to 10 minutes of LSU, you're not going to get as much of a premium for the door, especially like for games and such. So for us, we looked at all the strategy of people that are in the area, what they were getting, what type of houses needed to look like to be able to pull those kind of values. And we just took, I wouldn't say the gamble, but we took the risk and said, hey, these numbers make sense. We're in it low enough. Even if this fails, I can still put it on the market and still not lose money. Make sense? So you still, even though we flipped it to an Airbnb strategy, I tell my wife, like, we'll give it a year, right? If it doesn't hit, we'll sell it next week, right? So you always, even in that, have to have an exit strategy. And you do not want to overextend yourself. So
location,
I would say, is the biggest thing for an Airbnb. If you don't have the right location, there's no way, in my personal opinion, it would work. So.
Jay, what was your biggest mistake?
All right, so mine is not as sexy as his answer. So yeah, you know, to be honest and transparent, and this is probably going to be more for people that's already in the business and looking to grow than, you know, for some of the new guys out there. I do have a team. that helps me run my business, that help me grow and scale. And I took a step back towards the end of this year, and I think my biggest mistake was not pouring into my team like I used to. I was heavily invested in my team at the beginning, and you may say heavily invested, what does that look like? So we would do 1 to 2 weekly trainings a week. I would have one-on-ones with them. We would have quarterly meetings, some on Zoom, some in person. We would have team outings, just building a culture. But these last 2 years have been crazy. I've been bobbing and weaving the last 2 years. A lot of people have jumped out the game and went back to the sideline. We're still in it and doing well. But if I had to go back and look, that's something that I really need to focus on this year and pivot and start back pouring into my team. When you're in the midst of it and you're chasing revenue, it feels like you really don't want to pull away from that to take time for training, to pour into your people. It feels like you're leaving money on the table, but it's one of those things where you take 2 steps back to take 5 steps forward. So that's one thing that I'm going to start implementing, really pouring into my team to kind of get them back to where they need to be.
Yeah, I love that. Would you say, and I'm with you, as far as a team goes, that's for a little bit more established, but for a newbie, I mean, does that look like brushing up on your sales skills, brushing up on your marketing, working on your team as you right now, if you're wearing all the hats? I mean, how would a newbie take that to adapt the same way that you would apply it to a team? Would you brush up on your sales skills? Would you brush up on your marketing? Would you brush up on your underwriting or your networking? What do you think you could do as a newbie in that case?
Yeah, well, just getting started, and if I were to go back to when it was just me, definitely always sharpening that axe. And what that looks like, being in rooms like this, surrounding yourself with other investors, surrounding yourself with people that are in places where you want to be, listening to podcasts, listening to trainings, being a part of masterminds. Whatever it takes to continually better yourself. You never want to get comfortable, and the market's always shifting. When you deal with marketing, some things that's working now, may not work later. If you don't consistently stay plugged into what's happening, you go get left. Just like this AI thing that's out now. So you got to constantly watch the market, watch what's happening, watch what other investors or peers are doing, watch what's happening around the country. And I think that's one thing that helped me to stay successful. It was a time a couple of years back where I kind of unplugged and I wasn't a part of the masterminds, and I took a break for about a year from traveling and networking with investors across the country. And I watched my revenue drop, and I watched me get behind on certain stuff and some of my systems that were still okay, but the competition was beating me because they had better CRMs, better automation. And once I started to plug back in, I realized that. So yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. Always be sharpening that axe.
Yeah. I like that curveball answer. I'm getting to hear these answers for the first time with y'all. I send them these questions so they can prepare them, but I haven't heard the answers yet, so I like the curveball. All right, what is one strategy or decision from 2025 that worked exceptionally well for you that you plan to continue in 26? We tapped on this a little bit, but this is more so on a positive note. What did you plug into? What processes? What strategy? What did you implement last year that you want to really double down on in 26?
I would say price points, right? So price points can shift quickly in this market to where some things work, some things don't, right? Your higher price point stuff, it will sell eventually, and typically those are the ones that you're going to make a bigger hit statistically. But what I found last year, what I had to pivot from was just base hits. Base hit is a door that you can basically lipstick it, make it basic. It's got to fall on a certain price point that works, and it moves because people can afford it. And for me, pivoting from the, I'll call it like anything over 330, 340, mark gets more challenging. And if it's got a 4 in front of it, it's even more challenging. Is that it's got to basically have a 2 in front of it. So if it's got a 1 in front of it, it's too cheap. For me personally, I've struggled with if it's you got a 139 special out there that you're like anybody can buy that. That clientele typically don't have the credit or income to buy it. It's more challenging. If you play in the 225 to I call it 289 price point in Baton Rouge, they're going to sell like hotcakes. So if you can find a model that works, that you can get in and get out, those are the ones that we won on last year. And like I said, they're base hits. They're not going to be a home run, but base hits is what wins the game. So
I hate talking about COVID era because we won't ever see that again, but let's call it 2018, 2019 rates to more recent rates. Do you think that number changes based on the rate, or do you think you'll lock in somewhere in that same price point regardless of rate?
I think for our area, it's going to be a price point. Rates are what the rates are going to be. I think we might see a trend that they dip a hair lower coming into 2026. It is what it is. We're not going to ever see a 3% rate or 2% rate, in my personal opinion, outside of a world strategy. It was a one-off situation that has never happened, right? That caused rates to be that low. So if you think you're going to hang out and wait for a 3% rate to come back, I'm probably going to buy that house before you buy it. If I don't buy it, Dave's going to buy it, Jay don't buy it, Ace is going to buy it, and you're going to miss out. I would say if you want to play in the game, you got to jump in the game. Work with the numbers that work with the numbers that can make sense, and make a nickel. And maybe you would have made a dime last year, but a nickel is better than a dime, not making a dime. So work with the models that work for the price points, and you typically are going to still be okay. If you try to stretch too high, you're going to, like, for instance, you go too high, you may have the potential to make X dollars, but then you end up sitting on it because the market shift. Make sense? Insurance is another one. I saw we've got one insurance guy, and I'm sure you can attest to this. Are insurance prices cheaper this year?
Yes. Yeah.
I need to talk after this meeting because I have not seen that. Pretty much all our properties increased by like $1,000 to $3,000 a year. So from a cash flow standpoint, I've lost pretty much a month to 3 months rent just on that one item. So for your long holds, even though it's the same door, even though it's the same tenant for the last 10 years, it becomes more challenging just because of cash flow. So.
Jay, a strategy that you did in 25 that you want to double down on this year?
I would say a healthy balance of deal source, of where we're finding these deals. So it's normally 3 avenues for me. Of course, regular direct to seller, you spend money, you're doing your marketing. And then you have organic leads or referrals where you didn't have to pay to get that deal. And then you have JV. So it has to be a healthy combination of that. And I think I had a good, combination of that last year. So we're going to continue to double down on that. And if you listen to some of these gurus, about the, predictable business, I understand that, and KPIs and offers to deals, cost per deal and all that. I understand that, and you can dial that in, but marketing can be a black hole, and I know you can attest to that, Asa. And a lot of people don't talk about that, man. You can spend a lot of money in marketing consistently, and sometimes you can see it back in a 90 to 120 day cycle. Sometimes it may be 6 to 8 months. And there's a lot of people, go out of business listening to the gurus that, marketing, spending money, you're going to for sure get these deals. But it's a long game with spending and marketing. You got to have a long bank account to be able to withstand that. And most people starting out don't have that. And if you think about it with every other business, it's business 101. Just think about it. If any other business out here down Government Street, anywhere, had to spend $1 every time to get money back. I mean, they had to market to get customers every single time. They wouldn't make it. They would not make it. So you have to look at, putting yourself out there where you can get organic leads that you did not have to pay for, referrals, repeat business. A lot of these businesses out here, just local business, they advertise, but they get repeat business, they get referrals, people talking about them. So you have to have a healthy flow of deals that you didn't have to pay for, which is the organic and the referrals, and also JV. It's a win for everybody when you can help somebody else to make money, and you make money too. And you didn't have to spend money to get that deal, but it's a win for both of you guys. So I think that's a really important thing that I kind of took a step back and looked at, and because I know a lot of people that's on the sideline now because they spent, $50,000, $70,000, $80,000 in marketing, and they just didn't get that back quick enough. So
yeah, out of those 3 lead flow sources, I mean, you've been doing this since I've been in middle school, so you've been seeing this for a while, so probably not much surprises you, but was there one particular lead flow source that surprised you last year that worked better than you would have anticipated between a JV or a referral based or your direct to seller, or just in general diversifying more and using all 3?
So as far as marketing spent, it wasn't any. I do a combination of a few. Surprisingly enough, I'm still text messaging too. The text messaging didn't do as well last year. I never really stopped text messaging even when they passed the laws. I just got registered with them, but it didn't do as well last year. But, we had a good healthy flow of JV. I know a lot of all the town investors that I met, in masterminds, and they spend marketing dollars out here in Louisiana. If they get something between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, they call me. So I think that was a big push. I would have to say the JV side. And when you're doing that JV, you just have to make sure that you come through, and if you're not able to sell that deal, that you could communicate with them, because it's a lot of money that people are spending, and when they call for your help, if you can't perform, you just want to at least be able to communicate that with them, where they know that you did all you can to try to move that deal for them.
Was there a deal you passed on that you wish you had pursued, or one you took on that you wish you hadn't, and why?
That's a tough one, because last year I took on a few deals, and when I first read that question, I'd be like, I wish I would not have bought the expensive house in South Towns. And I say that because I got a lot of money tied up in it. So just being kind of a little honest with you guys. It was a big hit from a money stance, but from the risk stance, the end result turned into a kind of a blessing in disguise. So for me, my pivot of that is I'm probably not going to play at that price point. So I played with the low price points, I played with the high price points, and what seems to always hit without question is your mid price points. So that's where I pivot to. Our kids end up doing one that was at $289 last year. I mean, it was 30, 45 days in on a complete tear down flip, basically. New roof, floors, gut, everything. They turned it in 30, 45 days. And, as a dad, kind of excited. She's 18 now. She did buy her first car. So she flipped it. I think we sold it in 30 days, 40 days.
Wow.
So that was that was kind of something fun for me. So keep it in the family.
Yeah. So I love these meetups because you learn. I've learned a couple of things already. And what I'm about to bring out, I almost don't want to talk about it now after the conversation with you and what we had about the Airbnb. Because my answer to that was sometimes I hang in there and I got the attitude of don't give up. But sometimes you got to know when to pivot and not hold on to something too long. And I got into Airbnb kind of space early in Baton Rouge, like late 2018 going to 2019. And I doubled down pretty quick. I had 4 in Baton Rouge and 1 in New Orleans. And we were doing fairly well, but I don't know if the market started to get saturated. Kind of talking to them now, I think my Airbnb wasn't as cool as theirs. And I think that's what it was when more people started to get in it. But I took a beating for years on those ones here in Baton Rouge. Now, New Orleans is even doing better now since they kind of straightened some things out in New Orleans. But I took a beating for years, like writing a check every month for those 4 Airbnbs. I mean, they stayed rented. It wasn't a problem with them renting, but I had to drop the price enough to a point where I was losing money, just to kind of keep it filled. So, just kind of looking back on that, sometimes I stay into stuff too long where you got to know when to pivot. So yeah, now I'm kind of looking back on it. I think I probably should have just revamped some of them. I mean, they were really nice, but they weren't like, I guess, shabby chic cool, So I think that's my takeaway on that one.
I was going to just touch on this for me and my team. We had one of our best years really since COVID last year, and ironically enough, we passed on more deals last year than I've ever passed on. So I think the correlation between buying, fewer deals and buying smarter deals and doing better deals, it's not really about the deal that you buy, it's really more about the deals that you don't buy. Again, we've passed on, I need to go look through the CRM, I haven't had time, I got a 4-month-old at the house, but I need to go see, I want to say we've probably offered, we probably made well over 500 offers last year, and that boiled down to about 40 deals that we closed out last year. So we passed on more deals, I think, than I've ever passed on, and was a more profitable year for us than we've ever really seen since COVID era, really. So I think what deal did you take that you wish you would have passed on? I'm very, very bullish on that for 2026. I want to pass on more deals than I've ever passed on before. All right. What is a trend or market shift you noticed in 25, and how do you plan to adjust your investing strategy to stay ahead in 26? Again, we kind of touched on some of the same topics here, but I think this is very valuable to know. What did you see start happening more so last year that you think you want to ride the tail of this year as far as market trends go? You touched on that a little bit on price point. But
Yeah, I think price point is going to be our biggest thing that we stay in for 2026. You got to kind of just watch what's happening. You got to watch what colors are popular, what floors are popular. Everything's got to hit based on that season, and it's got to sell in that season, because if it rolls into a new season and then, urban bronze isn't the cool color anymore, or, white oak's not the new in, now you have a dated property. And so you've got to price what you buy in a way that you can get out of it in that season. Does that make sense? If you don't, you're going to sit on it. So once again, finding a house that you can buy in this room, somebody's going to have a door that you can buy today that you can turn a nickel on and it sell in the right time and not sit on it. That's what you got to be able to do. You got to go into 2026 without the idea that you're going to make 80 or 100 grand a door. I'm not saying those doors aren't out there. I want to say that it's not reality, in my personal opinion, right now. And maybe in 23, 21, 24, maybe you had some of those doors that hit and you're like, oh, this is easy money. I can be a flipper. I can be a whatever. I think realistically this year, you're going to have to hit base hits, right? You're going to have to find doors that you can make enough that it makes sense. But it's going to be difficult to find what I classify, a great home run. So for 2026, we're going to keep the base hits, and that's going to be your price points in the twos for me. The guys that, I've got friends that play in the $1 million, $2 million price points, and they're not as many buyers right now at 7% rates at that price point. So for me to get, it's how fast can you turn your money and how many transactions you do in a year. So the faster you can turn your money in a year, I'd much rather do that than hope for a home run and sit on a door for an extra 3 or 4 months. So I would say that's my strategy going into 2026. And look, if I go another 6 months and this Airbnb does what it does, I will probably look for another Airbnb that is of like kind in an area that I think would work. And those are very edgy and catchy. And like you said, it's got to be a home run to be an Airbnb. You just can't make a house in Shenandoah an Airbnb and expect it to be successful. It's not a cool neighborhood. It's not next to the right places. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but I look, hard and heavy in Baton Rouge, and you look at the map where these houses are located. The ones that are rented has to be in a cool area, and it's not in the area, and it can be not in the area by like 2 streets over the long area. It's not going to work. So that's one thing we're going to be looking for is base hits and another cool edgy house that we can make Airbnb.
So for me, with the market shift, and I'm kind of speaking more to full-time real estate investors now, if you do have your W-2 job, hang on to it and drain it as long as you can. But as a full-time investor, you got to look at some different options to keep everything, working like an all machine. And just kind of looking back on the market shifts and transactions are down from the year before. I looked into this a while back, and I'm making a shift for 26, and people call it vertical integration, where you can find a way to still bring in revenue that's related and close to what you're already doing, where it's not pulling you away from your primary business. So I always had a remodel company on the side when I used to do a ton of rehabs myself. I just had that set up really for myself, for families and friends, insurance jobs, but I never promoted it. I don't promote it now. But I have a few out-of-town clients that I picked up, and they are buying property locally, and we are handling it in the rehouse form, turning over units, different things like that. And it's not nothing where it's going to be a customer that's going to say they wanted a blue accent wall and and change it and say they want a yellow. Those are not the people I'm looking for. I like dealing with investors that they just want to get in and out, they want it right. And these clients here, they just want it Section 8 ready so they can rent. So we have started on that as far as the vertical integration to kind of come back, slow markets where you got revenue coming in other places. And I dabbled a little bit with the coaching thing, just kind of do it versus, my time on pouring into people, which I love to do, but looking at, what's the return on my investment. So we also rolling out a JV program where it's similar to a coaching program, but it's, how people say, you have to qualify. That's just a bunch of baloney. But with this thing right here, the person would have to qualify because I'm not charging them anything up front. They're going to work alongside me, and I have to make sure somebody, since I'm not charging them, that they go really produce. And it's going to be like an apprentice, like for a certain amount of transactions, depending on the deal source, I would get a percentage of it, in return. So that's going to kind of be another revenue stream where I can help them and they help me. And there's no upfront money because it's just, it's kind of getting sickening now with some of this stuff that's out there, man. And, people getting taken advantage of. So I would just say that vertical integration piece. And just kind of to add to, when I first started, and I would talk to my wife about this, about fixing and flipping and rentals and wholesaling. And I think it's going to take a combination of all three to make it work. But Chris Rude really put a phrase on it. They call it slow, medium, and fast. And I've always was telling my wife that, but no, I didn't hear nobody else talking about that. And you need that. And if you don't have a combination of all three and you're full time, you're going to get yourself in trouble. So you definitely want to have a combination of the flips, where you're not really dependent on that money, but when it's hit, it's good. The wholesales, that's going to be, quick, easy money to kind of keep your expenses going. And then you got rentals that's going to help with depreciation and long-term, kind of like 401k plan. You're not going to, I'm really touchy about saying it because if it's multifamily, you can, but rental properties are a long play game. Don't think you just go quit your job and live off your rental income if it's leveraged. Now, if it's free and clear, that's different, but most people are leveraging this, doing a burn strategy. It's more of a long-term 401k plan type, play. So, I think that's going to be my take. Those three things kind of going back in the head this year around those vertical integrated business.
And you I think you clarified a little bit, but this is Chris Rude's idea. His concept is slow, medium, and fast money. Like he said, your slow money is your rentals, your medium money are your flips, and your fast money is your wholesales, your quick turn and burns, quick cash flow, monthly income. And he preaches this, that you need all three to really sustain. If you have just heavy cash flow, you've got a really high tax burden at the end of the year. If you've got heavy medium money, you've got a lot of leverage out, you've got a lot of turnaround time, and you're waiting on that money to come back. And obviously, if you have slow money, you got a W-2 job and you want to offset some income. You can't really be a full-time investor without all three. You need a good blend of all three. I wanted to touch on this real quick too, just to get into the quick nitty-gritty without getting into the weeds. Trends that we really saw really work well for us this year is wholetailing versus flipping. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the lingo around it, but really all it is a flip. If you're going to go in and rip walls out, redo kitchens and bathrooms and all out on your remodel, there's a lot more investment into that, and you're narrowing down your buyer pool. So what we had a lot of success in was these wholetails, where we'd come in and say, if a flip we could sell for $300, a wholetail we might come in and plan to sell for $250 or $260. And instead of going and putting $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 into these houses, we put $20,000 or $30,000 in and change the hardware, paint the walls, do really small, light remodels, and have a aggressively priced house on the back end. We saw a lot of success in our wholetails this year. So again, not to get too far into the weeds, but on the wholesaling model, we tried to build out this big marketing list, this big email list, and had these huge walkthroughs. We had so much more success for you wholesalers in this room. Make the relationships with the people in this room. Those deals that we did last year, I sold to the same 7 or 8 guys. That's it. So this email list, this building out 5,000 people and doing all this, that's great. A trend for us, we're in Baton Rouge. We're a small town. We all know each other. We all do business together. So a good trend for us on our wholesales was building more relationships with our buyers rather than having this mass marketing MLS approach. And then thirdly, another trend was realtor referrals. I think you touched on this a little bit, but maximizing on extra ways to make income where the deal may not work from our perspective to wholesale it or to flip it, but man, we can help that seller out with a really, really good realtor that would get their house under contract immediately because they were priced so aggressively. We couldn't pay them. If we needed to pay them 100, they needed 160. Everything else around them was listed for 190. Well, we just teed them up to sell it super, super easy. The realtor won, the seller won, and we got paid a little referral fee to hand them over to the realtor. So some small trends that we saw kind of really work for us last year that we're going to implement more of this year too. Okay, so if you could give one piece of advice to a newer investor based on what you learned from 2025, what would that be?
I would say get your team together, right? So the only way to win in this is to have a team. And then what I mean by a team, you have to have a wholesaler. That wholesaler's got to make their nickel. You're going to have a contractor. That contractor has to be someone you can trust. You got to have them in your back pocket so you can get in and get out. You got to be able to get a property that makes sense, right? You have to have a realtor that makes sense. You have to have a title company on the front end, on the back end. Everybody's got to be hitting on all cylinders to win in this game. You can't have one piece of that pie try to get too much of the pie, right? And you can't, and I've seen this, kind of like a joint venture. I help a lot of people probably in this room, move forward with some type of real estate purchase, right? Whether I've helped them buy it, whether I've helped them flip it, whether I've helped them pick the colors. It's something that I've enjoyed doing for the last 20 some odd years, kind of joint venturing with people to get them in a door. But the end result is, get a team together that you trust, that you can work with, and the people in this room is probably where I would start. Because if you don't have a team, you're not going to be successful. If you and then you got to pick what you want to do, right? Do you want to rental? Do you want to flip? What do you want? And I would have to agree with Chris, Ace, all of y'all. You've got to have long-term rental. I like short-term, and then your flips, right? If you don't have all three, one of them's paying for the other, right? So as you're doing a flip, you're not making money, right? You're putting a lot of money out, but you're not making money. But your rental, you may not make money that month on the rental because the rental's not paying for your flip. Make sense? If you can get into a transaction-based business and you're still a W-2 and your business doesn't cost you money, and then when it has a hit, that's the win, right? I don't want my business costing my W-2 money. Does that make sense? So your exit strategies, your team, everybody's got to be in play. And I would say the best thing if you're new is to shake someone's hand in here that's done this and, figure out what y'all can do to connect and what you can learn from that person.
Yeah, for me, I would say for my new people, don't grow too fast. Learn every position in that business. Acquisitions, dispositions, transaction coordination, learn everything before you start to build a team. And that has really helped me out. This year, I probably, even though I have an in-house team, I've jumped in every seat in my business this year. Acquisitions, dispositions, I've done it all. And I've seen some investors that grew too fast and they didn't know how to really talk to sellers, how to really build rapport. Maybe they didn't know how to do dispositions. Maybe they didn't understand the transaction aspect of it, of juggling the seller, the buyer, and the title company. It's a lot of moving parts, and you want to learn all of that from that aspect. So if something happened that you do have to jump in that seat, or you may lose somebody, you can still, keep your business afloat. And it also helps with coaching and training. Because you can help them and coach and train them, and there's nothing worse, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been in that position with W-2, and you have a manager that don't try to tell you what to do and never even walked in those shoes. So it's really important to do that. And the other part is learn to have different tools in your tool belt. And I know it sounds cliche, but it works for me. I know it works for Asa, especially when you're spending marketing dollars. You want to find some type of way to monetize off that lead. If it's just $100, you want to find some kind of way to monetize off of it, whether it's wholesale, fix and flip, buy and hold, owner financing, sub-2, wholesaling a sub-2, realtor referral. No matter what it is, find some kind of way to monetize off the leads. And that's another way to get yourself in trouble if you only, have one exit strategy. So I guess for newbies, that's going to be a ground level based thing. understand those things.
Yeah, that's good. And my piece of advice, and this is speaking to myself, so whether you're a newbie or seasoned vet, is focus. I mean, there are so many shiny objects out there. I'm approached by a million different opportunities every single week that I want to go chase down, and they all look so good. There's been days where I just want to close the doors completely and go start building. There's been days I want to start developing. There's days I want to do land deals. There's days I want to stop wholesaling altogether. I want to stop flipping altogether. But just focusing in on one key niche that you can provide value to other people in this room or other people in this market, and getting really damn good at that and not getting distracted by all the other shiny objects out there, because there are so many. I mean, you're going to hear about multifamily, you're going to hear about wholesaling, you're going to hear about development. Pick a lane and just stick with that. Don't get sidetracked by different markets, by different concepts and different strategies. If Baton Rouge is your market, great. If you want to be completely remote and work Cincinnati, Ohio, great. Just pick a lane and stick with it and just get really damn good at it. And it's going to take you a hell of a lot longer than you would expect to get really good at it. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of relationships. It takes a lot of hard lessons learned. And why go through all of that in one lane? I'm talking to myself right now, where I've learned so much and lost so much money on things, and to just leave that altogether and not go capitalize and go make money on that one thing that you just paid your tuition on by the money that you lost or the time that you lost on that. So pick a lane, stay in it, stay focused on it. Sure, all these other guys doing all these other things are probably making good money at it, but they've been in that lane and they stay focused in that lane too and gotten to where they're at because they didn't get sidetracked by all the other shiny objects out there. So stay focused, pick a lane that you feel comfortable in, that you feel confident that you have enough people in this room or in this market or in your circle that can help you and that you can provide value to, and stick with that lane and don't get sidetracked.